I'm Katie Sewell, and this is A Bittersweet Moment with Tiffany Parks.
Hello and welcome to the Bittersweet Life. I'm Tiffany Parks, and this is your midweek Bittersweet Moment. I have seen a lot of posts on social media recently showing Rome absolutely thronged with people. Those horrible nightmarish scenes, I'm sure you've seen them too if you follow Rome content or Italy content on social media. Videos of people walking down Via Condotti or Via del Corso or walking down the galleries of the Vatican museums, basically toe to toe or shoulder to shoulder, absolutely crammed together around the Trevi Fountain in places like this. And it looks horrible. It looks really scary. And if you're planning a trip to Rome for this summer season, late spring, summer season, or the early fall, which is very high season in Rome now, you might be thinking, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But never fear, because I'm going to share with you some of the neighborhoods of Rome that will never be crowded like this. Not on the busiest day of the year, they will not be crowded. There might be people, but it's never going to be like that. And this list is by no way exhaustive. I'm sure there are other parts of the city that I'm forgetting. So if you think of any places, if you're very familiar with Rome or if you live here, send them in because we can always do a second one of these episodes. So in no particular order, some of the great neighborhoods of Rome where you're going to be, I'm not going to say you're going to have the whole neighborhood to yourself, but it's going to feel totally different than those crowded places. So one of those places is the east side of Trastevere. Now, in general, Trastevere as a whole used to be a lot less crowded than the other side of the river, and it still is. It still is significantly less crowded with tourists than the other side of the city. But tourists have officially discovered Trastevere, and almost everyone who comes to Rome will make at least one jaunt over the river to visit that neighborhood, so it's not as quiet as it used to be. However, there are two sides of Trastevere separated by a big late 19th century road that bulldozed right through the middle of the neighborhood. And if you go to the east side, it's much, much quieter. It is almost like walking into a little small village. You go down some little narrow alleys and streets, and you're totally alone. There won't be anyone else there. And it's actually a very large area. Most people who go to Trastevere never venture over there. And it's much bigger than you would expect. And so I, even walking with my husband a couple of weeks ago, found a street that I had never ever seen before. Like, I had never discovered this street. And walking down it, we found a really delightful, very, very old church, which I can't even tell you the name of. But it was something that I had never seen before. So it's kind of a little treasure trove. And if you really want to see some important sites in that part of the city, I would recommend Santa Cecilia in Trastevere. I did a mini episode on this a few months back. And San Benedetto in Piscinula, a really small, lovely church. Another neighborhood over in that area that you probably don't have on your list is Testaccio. Now, Testaccio is back on the quote-unquote main side of the river, but it's down sort of across from that east side of Trastevere. So if you walk down south from that east side of Trastevere and cross over Ponte Marmorata, you'll find yourself in Testaccio. Now, Testaccio does not have as many important sites, and it's definitely not as quaint and characteristic as Trastevere because it's a newer neighborhood, but it nevertheless has a lot of character. It's got much more of a local feel of people, Romans living there. And the neighborhood is famous for its food. It has some of the best local Roman-style restaurants that you'll find in the city. Really traditional and high-quality restaurants. So if you're a foodie, I would definitely head over there. Vegetarians are not going to find as many options. Roman cuisine is a really meat-based cuisine, particularly internal organs if you're going to go really traditional. So just be warned of that. But you can find anything over there, including some really good pizza. There's a lot of great food shops around there as well. And there's a museum called the Macro, which has contemporary art. So you will find some cultural things to do over there. Another neighborhood that can feel eerily quiet is the Aventine Hill. Now, There are two sections to the Aventine Hill. There's sort of two spurs. And on the higher spur, you're going to find things like Santa Sabina Church, an incredible church. I highly recommend visiting Santa Sabina because it is extremely old and it has survived countless sacks of the city. So it's a very rare church in Rome because it is still standing from, I want to say, the 6th century. Very, very incredible medieval church. Right next door to Santa Sabina, you'll find the keyhole of the Knights of Malta. I no longer suggest people going there because it has been discovered by social media. And unfortunately, you'd have to wait an hour and a half in line to look through. It's become a nightmare, unfortunately. I won't go into the reasons why. I'm sure you can guess. So I don't suggest going as far as the keyhole of the Knights of Malta, but definitely it's worth a visit to Santa Sabina. And on the shorter spur of the hill, you'll find churches like San Saba and Santa Prisca, which are beautiful medieval churches as well. And it's a very green, leafy residential area. It's a very wealthy area. The people who live over there, their property is off the charts, but it's so quiet. Once you get away from the keyhole of the Knights of Malta, it's absolutely beautiful. And if you happen to be in Rome right around now, May or June, the Rose Garden is open right now, which is absolutely incredible. You can wander through there for free and see some beautiful roses. Katie and I recorded an episode in the Rose Garden a few years back. And there's also the Orange Garden, which has a gorgeous view of the city. That's very touristy, but the other areas really are not. Another neighborhood that surprisingly is less crowded than you might think is the Celio neighborhood. Now, the Celio neighborhood is where the Colosseum is. So obviously up to the Colosseum, you're going to have lots of crowds. But if you go past the Colosseum, and by past, I mean southeast of the Colosseum, you are going to find a lot less tourists and a lot less crowds. And you will find incredible sites like San Clemente, which is one of the most incredible and fascinating churches in Rome, which has 3 layers of history. We go there on our Rome tour, and we go really deep into those layers of history. It's one of the best moments of the tour. But there are also other churches around there, such as Santo Stefano Rotondo and Santi Quattro Coronati. They're absolutely incredible gems of both art, architecture, and history, and more than worth a visit. And you'll find that there's nobody around. A few locals, random tourists, yes, but you will have open streets. There will not be crowds of people around you. And it's just a wonderful area because there's so many hidden gems up there. There's also San Paolo. Now, San Paolo is a bit further out. It's still in the center of Rome, but it's a bit more of a hike to get there. You'd need to probably take a bus or the metro. The metro does stop at San Paolo. This is the area where I used to work. So I used to spend a lot of time there, and it's definitely not, it's not a beautiful area. It's not ugly, but it's not beautiful. It doesn't have the beautiful old architecture. It's got like early 20th century architecture. But what it has is San Paolo Fuori le Mura, which is another incredible church in Rome. It's one of the 4 papal basilicas. From the outside, it's absolutely incredible to see because it just appears like out of nowhere. You're like in this neighborhood that seems so 19th century, even early 20th century, with the big long blocks of buildings, sort of Art Nouveau style. And then all of a sudden, standing head and shoulders above everything is this gorgeous, gleaming white church. Now, the church itself burned down, most of it, in the 1800s. But what's cool about it, I mean, that's a tragedy. I talk about it in one of the very, very first mini episodes I ever did. So you have to go back and find that. But what's incredible about it is they rebuilt it in the early medieval style, basically the Carolingian style. And so you'll see architecture on a very, very large scale that you don't see in Rome because most of those old churches were rebuilt in a later style. This was rebuilt too, but it was rebuilt in the old style. Also in the San Paolo area, which is called Ostiense, technically, there is an amazing museum called Centrale Monte Martini. It is so great. It's probably impossible to overstate how great this museum is. Basically, the Capitoline Museums, which has probably the greatest, after the Vatican, the greatest collection of art in the city, as opposed to belonging to the church, this art all belongs to the city of Rome. So we've got lots of ancient Roman bronze and marble sculptures, as well as paintings. Basically, they have an overflow of art. The Capitoline Museums is not big enough to contain all of the art that they have. So they decided to found a second location for that art collection. And they chose an abandoned industrial era electrical factory. It's full of early 20th century electrical turbines and all sorts of big machines. So it makes a really gorgeous contrast, the industrial era machines with the ancient sculptures. And nobody is ever there. Like, it's literally practically empty. Another great area that I think almost nobody in Rome explores is the Nomentana area. That's straight north of the city. And you'll probably also need to get a bus to get there because it's not within walking distance at the center of town. But if you are over the crowds, it is well worth a trek to go up to Nomentana. It's like the Aventine, a very leafy residential area. It's a little bit more modern than the Aventine neighborhood. But what it has are basically turn-of-the-century mansions that were built by the wealthy nouveau riche Roman families, in the early years of the 1900s. And they're beautiful Art Nouveau mansions, just one after another. Most of them have been converted into embassies now, but it's just really a nice area to wander on maybe a free day. But there are, of course, some really great cultural draws there, as there seem to be in every neighborhood in Rome. And one of them is Villa Torlonia. Villa Torlonia is a park, but it has a gorgeous museum inside of it. And the museum is divided into a few different sections, and one of those is the Owl House, which I, again, talk about on a mini episode from years and years ago. The Owl House it's amazing. It was built in the early 1900s, but it was built to seem like a little medieval hamlet. And it's full of gorgeous early 20th century stained glass. If you have kids, I highly recommend going there because it's like a fairy tale world. And then you can also go and hang out in the park. So you get both in one. Also, up in the Nomentana area, very close to Villa Torlonia, is the Basilica of Sant'Agnese fuori le mura, which is yet another gorgeous medieval church, which also has right next door the Mausoleum of Costanza, which is around, I want to say, 4th century building. It's very, very old. It was far enough away from the center of town that it didn't get destroyed during the sack of the Normans, like so many early medieval churches. So make sure you go to the Mausoleum of Costanza if you are in the Nomentana area. The Gianicolo Hill can also be a great place to escape the crowds. Now, I will say that around the Fontanone, the big fountain of San Paolo, it is very crowded with people enjoying the view. But if you avoid the fountain or you just keep walking past it, there are some amazing walks up there. It's uphill and it's leafy and it's full of Roman pine trees, and there are busts of all of the great Italian patriots up there, hundreds and hundreds of marble busts. There's a big statue of Giuseppe Garibaldi at the top of the hill. There's a lighthouse. It's a really wonderful place if you want to take a long walk. You can kind of walk from Trastevere up via Garibaldi all the way through along the Passeggiata del Gianicolo, and you'll eventually get to the Vatican. It's not the quickest way to get to the Vatican from Trastevere, but it's a very beautiful way, and it's very low on crowds. So there you have it. Those are some of the best neighborhoods in Rome if you want to avoid the crowds, and you might just feel like you've discovered a whole neighborhood that nobody else in Rome knows about. So it could make your trip much more enjoyable. Now, if you want to have Katie and myself take you to some of these places ourselves, or some of our other hidden neighborhoods that you can find in Rome where the crowds are much less and where there are incredible works of art to see, that's what we do every single day on our trip. We uncover the city for you. We take you to places that you wouldn't find on your own, and we make those places come alive for you. So if you want to come to Rome with us, we are taking a small group of our listeners there the first week in November this year, 2026. So get in touch with us because half of the rooms are already sold out. Email us at bittersweetlifepodcast@gmail.com or visit our website, thebittersweetlife.net. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.